Welcome to this week's Eternal Monday, where Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX from Battle Styles takes on an Eternal format version of Lost Box, featuring the amazing Surge Kyogre from Shining Fates. This game comes from the finals of the January 2024 in real life Eternal format tournament that took place here in San Antonio at Dragon's Lair at Alamo Ranch. If you're new here, you might be wondering what the heck even is the Eternal format. In short, it is the unlimited format with a ban list. So this means the format features cards from the original base set all the way through to the most recent tournament legal set. Although it's an unofficial format, it's an incredibly fun format with a lot of rich deck building and gameplay experience to be had. If you're interested in learning more about the Eternal format, you can do so at justinbasil.com/eternal. Up first, we're going to take a quick look at Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, which is at this point a known quantity in the Eternal format. Basically, it is making use of Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX's Gmax Rapid Flow attack to spam and absolutely demolish your opponent's board. Now, if they are wise and running some form of bench barrier Pokemon like Mr. Mime or Mew or Manaphy, you can deal with that with a combination of Alolan Muck from Sun and Moon's Power of Alchemy, which shuts off the abilities of all basic Pokemon, and Lost City, which will cause that Pokemon to say farewell and head to the Lost Zone when it is knocked out. So you can basically shut off the bench barrier and then nuke it with Gmax Rapid Flow so that it can't come back. Urshifu is taking advantage of Melanie to help it attach a water energy from the discard pile to that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, so that a simple attachment from hand of Rapid Strike energy to make it fully powered up and ready to attack with Gmax Rapid Flow, which does 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. That may not seem like a lot of damage, but it does add up very quickly, and in combination with something like Technical Machine Devolution can be utterly terrifying. And it's also made all the more terrifying by the fact that in the Eternal format, a lot of your supporting Pokemon, like Claydol and Lapras, they're pretty squishy. They've got 120 HP or less, which means they go down very quickly to Gmax Rapid Flow. Anyway, that is Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. We'll quickly look at Lost Box. This is an Eternal format version of Lost Box, so you're not going to see Comfey in here. You will instead see Jirachi from Rising Rivals. You'll be using its Detour to copy the effect of the supporter card that you've used that turn, which in most cases will be Colress's Experiment. So you'll play a Colress's Experiment and then Detour to effectively use a second Colress's Experiment each turn. It's pretty good. You get your Lost Zone filled up pretty quickly that way. This deck is also running 4 copies of Lost Vacuum to really turbo through your deck and to get that Lost Zone to 7 and then 10 as quickly as possible so that you can take advantage of both Mirage Gate and of Sableye and its Lost Mine attack. This deck's main attacker, if you will, is however the amazing Surge Kyogre, which does 80 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon, and then you can use things like Technical Machine Devolution to devolve all those damaged Pokemon, or you can try to finish them off with Sableye. As always, Cramorant is willing and able to do 110 damage for free if you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, and pretty much everything else about the deck is there to help it set up and do what it's supposed to do. I have talked to the pilot of this particular build of Lost Box, and they've said that they really wish they had a hard hitter, something like Roaring Moon, for example, or the Yveltal, the amazing rare Yveltal, but their attack costs would have made the deck a little bit more complicated to have a decent energy count, so they forewent those particular options in this particular build, but they are of course exploring more ideas for the future. And now that we've had a look at both decks, let's watch the game. Players getting set up here, Lost Box on the left, Urshifu on the right. Urshifu player going first. They're going to be playing a Baltoy down, playing a quick ball, discarding a TM Devolution, searching their deck. I have to imagine they're probably digging for a Grimer to get set up here. Dig, 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 and not finding it. It may be Prize. That would be unfortunate. They do have a Zelf, though. Looks like they're going to run with that as Zelf, actually, try to fish it out. Yeah, they are going to play Zelf. They're going to search their prize cards for that Grimer, rather. Yep. Put their prize cards back and trade one of those cards in their hand for it. So they've fished the Grimer successfully out of the prize card with that Zelf. Got a Rapid Strike Energy attachment on that active. Urshifu gonna pass. See a Colress's Experiment right out of the gate for the Lost Box player with the Jirachi in the active spot. That's actually pretty good. They'll be able to use Detour fairly early on rather. We see a Ball of some kind, I think that was, and Lapras both going to the Lost Zone. So no access to Lapras. Looks like we're going to have no access to Lapras in this particular game. Quick Ball discarding Sableye. Sableye not painful in this particular part of the game. So let's find out, and I have to imagine they run more than one. We are going to see that Greninja come down. Radiant Greninja, of course, with the powerful Concealed Cards ability. Artisan also coming down. Going to use Concealed Cards here real quick, getting a Quick Ball and a Lost Vacuum. going to go ahead and go in with Artisan, grabbing another Jirachi just in case the one in the active spot goes down. Don't want to be left without some sort of pivot, and Jirachi is an especially good one because of its Detour attack. Detour, of course, basically copies the supporter card you've played that turn for no energy cost, so very, very good. So we're going to see a copy of Color's Experiment here with Detour. Lost Box player choosing to Lost Zone an Azelf and a Sableye, saving some energies in hand. And we're going to see an Evolution Instance right out of the gate for Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Going to have to pull that out in some way. Are they going to go straight for the... Nope, they're not going straight for the Urshifu. They are going to Claydol first. Going to evolve up. Maybe they already have Urshifu in hand. Getting that extra draw is always very good for Urshifu, though. Gonna use the Poke Power on Claydol there. Gonna drop to 6 cards in hand. We do see the Alolan Muck, so... Oh, and we see the Urshifu. Extremely good there. So that Manaphy is now shut off, which, unfortunately for the Lost Box player, means that targets that he chooses are just going to be knocked out immediately. Both the Manaphy and the active Jirachi go down. We are going to see the effect on the Poke Body for Jirachi there. Get a card out of the deck for the Lost Box player. Pretty good effect. This looks like a Mirage Gate coming out there. The other Jirachi going to the active spot. See a Quick Ball. Discarding a Colress's Experiment. Got to find some sort of attacker. Going, looks like for a Cramorant, perhaps? Yeah, we are going for a Cramorant here. Cramorant going to get some damage in. Not really going to knock anything out unless he can find a Gust. But at least it's some damage. I do see an Amazing Surge Kyogre go down also. That is good. That means there'll be something available later. Discard on that Water Energy, getting another Mirage Gate. Versus Seeker for Colress's Experiment. Drew into Colress's Experiment and a Versus Seeker. Saving a few of those. Discarding, or not discarding, Lost Zoning a Quick Ball and a Level Ball. Kind of just taking those out of the running there. Choosing to play a Lost Vacuum to pitch a Colress's Experiment and an Artisan, trying to build that Lost Zone to get to 10. I have to imagine he really wants to have Sableye alive at some point here soon, but also really wants to make sure that they can use Mirage Gate with 7 in the Lost Zone. Mirage Gate should be live at this point. Artisan going down again with the Artisan that was kicked to the Lost Zone earlier. Artisan, of course, can be played this turn. Checking energy counts here, making sure that they have the energy necessary to power up Kyogre. And does look like they have the necessary energy. Sableye coming down off that Artisan. 2 Mirage Gates being played. I have to imagine that's going to power up the Kyogre completely and probably set up an energy either on the Sableye or on the Radiant Greninja. We see 2 Water Energy and a Lightning and a Sableye attachment. Okay, so they probably have a Metal Energy in hand, if I had to guess, to finish up the powering up of that Kyogre. Yep, there's the Metal Energy. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, that Jirachi is a free retreater, so they'll be able to retreat out and go into that Kyogre. Computer Search is going to discard a couple cards there. That was a Float Stone and a Versus Seeker, grabbing a Kyogre out of the deck, using it basically as an Ultra Ball in this particular instance. So not the most effective use of Computer Search, but if it's what you need, it's what you need. Kyogre going to the active spot, going to take out the Azelf and the Claydol. Both of those, of course, not really that critical to the Urshifu deck now that they have that Muck up and that Urshifu built. Unfortunately for the Urshifu player this turn, they really do need to find some way to attack. They're not going to be, probably not going to be using a Gmax Rapid Flow this turn, unless they can find a Melanie, which would be ideal. There was a Computer Search there. I'm not sure what they got off of it just yet, but maybe it is a Melanie. They're going to need a Melanie and a... Yeah, okay, it is a Melanie, so they just need the Rapid Strike Energy. If they have the Rapid Strike Energy in hand, or if they draw into it here, then they'll be pretty good to go. Ooh, nice. So there's the Rapid Strike Energy coming down. There is going to be a Gmax Rapid Flow after all, and if they can find a Lost City, and there is a Lost City. Oh, man. Lost City. Lost Zoning both the Kyogre and the Sableye. Brutal. Taking out one of the Kyogres from play, getting that Sableye out of there too. That means there are now 2 Sableye in the Lost Zone, which makes it very difficult for this Lost Box player to actually get Sableye out. There is a Sableye in the discard pile from being discarded earlier, so that Clara will find that most likely. I'm going to have to find it if they want to use it at all during the rest of this game. Manaphy and Sableye both coming back. Manaphy and Sableye both being benched, and an energy being attached to that Sableye, and that Sableye immediately going to active spot. Going to have to choose probably to knock out that Alolan Muck on the bench just to take prize cards. But at this point, I think it's a little too late because they can't really knock out the Urshifu. They just don't have enough damage output. The amazing Surge Kyogre is really good against squishy things, which, to be fair, the Eternal format has a lot of. But as I mentioned in the intro of this video, you really need some sort of big hitter, whether that's Roaring Moon or Giratina or Amazing Rare Evoltol, just something that can really hit high numbers and take big knockouts. Because as it stands now, this particular build is just not built to take on stuff like Urshifu, and Urshifu is very much built to take on stuff like Lost Box. So we're going to see a discard of Ultra Ball to play a Quick Ball. Fishing out a Lapras. Lapras is going to use Support Navigation to find a supporter card in the deck for a Greens Exploration. Okay, very interesting. Not going for another double KO. Must not have the Rapid Strike energy in hand. That is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Getting Greens Exploration for an Earthen Vessel and a Floatstone. Floatstone not being discarded. Guzma is being discarded. So going to search the deck for a couple of basic energy here. Got a Fighting Energy and a Water Energy off the Earthen Vessel, not too bad. Probably going to attach the Water Energy if I had to guess, unless they want to use the first attack. I think it's Gale Thrust to take a knockout, which does look like they're going to do on the bench. Put the Floatstone on the active to get it out, get the damaged one to the bench, make it a little harder to take the knockout there. So he's going to Gale Thrust the active Sableye, and with that Lost City in play, that is now all three Sableye into the Lost Zone. Unfortunately, for Lost Box player here, that is doom and gloom. They're going to have to try to power up the Kyogre or try to go in with Cramorant, but that Lost City is just devastating at this point into the game. We see a couple of energy going back in with Ordinary Rod. That confirming that all three Sableye are indeed in the Lost Zone. Kind of a heartbreak moment there. But we do see the energy going back to the deck. We see a couple of Mirage Gates in the hand, so can power up Radiant Greninja, can power up the Kyogre. It's just a matter of which one will do more damage. Going to go in with the Kyogre, it looks like, but ultimately, I think this is just too little too late. They're not going to be able to take the knockouts necessary to win this game. We do see the other Mirage Gate. Psychic Energy and a Water Energy. Yeah, just kind of doom and gloom at this point. The Urshifu player only needs one prize card now at this point, and if I'm not mistaken, the Lost Box player does still need 3. Do you see a second energy on that Radiant Greninja with the Raihan attachment? But I mean, what are you going to do? You're not going to be taking KO on either of these Urshifu. You don't have the damage output necessary. Kyogre is powered up, or mostly powered up at this point, but it's just not enough. There's the last energy needed for Kyogre, so it is powered up. It's going to take a knockout on the Lapras, so he'll go down to 2 prize cards. So Lost Box put up a fight at least. It's not the end of the world, but here Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX is going to just finish things off with a Guzma. Guzma being dropped via Versus Seeker, taking a knockout on that Cramorant, Gale Thrust for knockout, and of course for game, taking that last prize card. Wild. Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, of course, is quite a menace in the Eternal format, and this video just proves it. Sableye, quite a menace in Standard, but Urshifu just does not care in the Eternal format when it has access to stuff like Alolan Muck and its Power of Alchemy ability. Hopefully you all enjoyed that game. I know I sure did, and I am so looking forward to what our players come up with at our March 2024 Eternal format tournament. Speaking of which, if you happen to find yourself in the San Antonio area on March 16th, you can join us for our next in real life Eternal format tournament. Deck validation and registration begins at 11, with round 1 to begin approximately at noon. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.